Today, I played against Matt Brown in College Football 25. Matt Brown is the owner and main author of the Extra Points newsletter. He has also appeared on this channel multiple times with interviews. Great friend of the channel. Without further ado, let's get into it. Alright, Matt Brown, welcome to the channel. I do want to ask you before, because we've done the interview style for every video we've done together on the channel. I do want to ask you, what's the big news that you have for the Extra Points newsletter?
Yeah, the big news here today is that we are not just a publication that writes a lot about college football video game development. We are actually sponsoring a bowl game. The Extra Points Bowl is a real thing. It is happening late this November. It will feature top teams that do not qualify for the Division III football playoffs from the Ohio Athletic Conference and the President's Athletic Conference, so the OAC and PAC. Some of the best teams in D3 in Ohio, West Virginia, and Pennsylvania. They will be playing at the NFL Hall of Fame Stadium in Canton, Ohio. And we're going to be there. We're going to be the sponsor. It's going to be called the Extra Points Bowl. We're going to have our logo everywhere. We're going to help design the trophy. We're providing some special swag and gifts for the athletes. And we're trying to make this a special experience and use this to walk our readers and our industry connections through what goes into sponsoring a bowl game.
That sounds wonderful. But today, ladies and gentlemen, it is Trasher Football versus Matt Brown in good old College Football 25. What team will you be using today?
I should probably use my alma mater, Ohio State, and not just because they're one of the best teams in the game, but also I suck. So if I'm going to have any chance at staying within 4 touchdowns of you, I think I actually need to use the old alma mater.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Rose Bowl, where we're getting ready for a matchup between Matt Brown's Ohio State Buckeyes and Trasher Football's Florida Gators. This is going to be a rematch of a lifetime for all the Buckeyes fans. They have a lot of hatred for the Gators because they are 0-2 against Florida.
I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to talk about it.
Was that the one? Yeah, that was the one when Chris Leak was the starter.
The championship game?
Yeah.
That sounds about right. I remember Tebow being involved. And that was supposed to be one of the best Ohio State teams ever, and they kind of ran through everybody in the beginning of the regular season, and it was terrible. And I remember this because that year I actually was on an LDS mission, and I watched very little of the regular season. I would find out what was happening from clips from that my parents would send me from home or whatever. I'd sneak into people's houses to watch part of the game. And that was the only game that I got to see the whole year, the full game of it. I had come home. And of course that was Ohio State just getting massacred. It was not ideal. But what can you do? You win some, you lose some. And for a while, Ohio State lost a lot.
I think the 2015 season can be made up for it. Or the 2015 Natty.
That was very satisfying. And we don't have to talk about anything that kind of happened after that. But that year was fun.
All right, 2nd and 6. Let's see what you're going to do here. Really liking the running game, but I don't blame you. Ohio State has a really good running back room.
Yeah, in real life, I would have probably a couple of questions about their offensive line, but they're going to have a relatively limited quarterback. They're going to have a loaded wideout room and everything, and I would expect them to be a run-first team this year, which is also good if you're like me and you throw too many interceptions.
Oh my God! Speak of the devil.
I know.
That
I've watched all the YouTubes, and I've gotten a little bit better, but whenever I play against an actual person, I'm going to throw 4 picks, and that's I'm not good. I'm a much better reporter of this game than I am a player of this game. But that's just me. That's just the reality.
I mean, you did get to play it before I did.
I did. I got 3 days, advanced time, I guess. All right.
Oh, Mertz, no!
Yeah, no. What are you doing trying to hurdle? You're Graham Mertz. You're not somebody who's good at sports. Come on.
Oh, come on. Just because he was awful at Wisconsin doesn't mean he's awful now.
He's not that good. If you need somebody to get you to the Culver's Bowl or the extra points bowl or something, I think he would be perfectly fine. But
Goodness
I
gracious.
mean, what's the expectation for Florida this year? Like a good season's going 6-6, right?
I'd say so myself as a Gator fan. Anything above 500 would be a successful season.
Well, I mean, the schedule is just outrageous. So that doesn't necessarily mean the team is terrible or anything, but no. I mean, there were like 2 games at Wisconsin when Graham Mertz looked like the second coming of Joe Montana, and then there were the rest of the games.
Well, we'll see if he improves in his senior year. I think he's a graduate. Like, he's got those little patches on the jersey.
That's kind of the funny thing about. I feel like anybody that's ever played quarterback at Wisconsin has been there for at least 14 years.
It's like they're old men.
Yeah, that's what they are. Okay, baby steps. So you've been playing this game longer than I have. I'm sure you're following more people on YouTube right now, right? What is the current feeling among college football community members about what the meta is? What's the move here on offense?
The jet sweep is very overpowered. Didn't even have to use it on me to score, but I wasn't expecting a pass.
No, well, can't imagine why after the first play from scrimmage. I have had a lot of success throwing to running backs out of the backfield.
That is true.
And the jet sweep and the fake jet sweep and variations thereof. I've had some success with that, but I don't know if people are compensating for the fact that passing is harder by leaning into the power option attacks, or if everyone's doing the veer and shoot. I have not been effective at making the right reads out of RPOs, so that set doesn't really work very well for me.
Yeah, I don't touch RPOs that often unless I am just up by 40.
Yeah,
it's the only place to test it out. Like you were saying, the halfback routes and the wheel routes, the Texas route, usually are very overpowered, especially online. And Montrell Johnson, dude, I know you got hurt in practice, man, but you can't be stumbling around like that.
Is he playing this year?
He's week to week.
Okay, then he'll be fine.
I did not throw to that guy. He threw it behind my intended receiver.
Oh well.
Thanks,
to be fair, you were being chased pretty heavily there.
Ohio State's defenses. I honestly think it was better than Michigan's defense last season.
It should be even better this year. It is going to be a little bit disorienting, given what the Ryan Day teams have been like and the latter Urban Meyer teams at the end. I think this year's Ohio State team is going to be defense first, and rather than throwing the ball for 450 yards a game. Should be interesting. I don't know if I'd say they're my favorite to win the national championship this year, but they're definitely one of the 4 most talented teams, and I think have a schedule that will put them in position for a bye in the playoffs.
I have them winning the Big Ten this year 100%. Goodness gracious, DBs, what are you doing? One of the big things that I've noticed in this game is when you're playing D-line, and I love to use your D-line because I'm just lazy and awful like that.
Sure.
If I want to rush the quarterback and I see another player rushing the quarterback, I try to switch on to the other D lineman, but it loves to switch over to other DBs, and I'll think I'll be trying to push through the line, but in fact I'm pulling a DB off a receiver and leaving them wide open.
Yeah, I think the move, and I do this when I play the computer. I usually use her like the nose tackle, but I think online it might be better to use her a middle linebacker or a safety, and then just try to switch. Depending on what happens with the play, because it is easy to get caught. Not a pro gamer, pro journalist, pro reporter.
Well, you're doing better than me already.
Well, I mean, the game is young. I think as long as you don't do something silly, like try to hurdle with Graham Cracker over there.
Graham Cracker.
I think you should be just fine.
Arliss Boardingham, one of those underrated tight ends in the SEC.
So, are you thinking that Georgia is the team in the league this year, or
they are the new Alabama?
Yeah,
I have no doubt in my mind for Georgia.
I don't know what to think about Texas this year, and I am a little curious. I'm curious about LSU because I feel like if they get half of a defense, they can still win 9 games and mess some people up. But they were just horrific on the defensive side of the ball last year.
Kind of like how I am, and you're the complete opposite right now. Man, that route is always open in my dynasty.
I didn't see who got that pick. All right, what do we want to do here? We got a minute 22 left. Oh, that's open, baby.
Oh, come on.
But one of the things I legitimately really like about this game that I didn't think I would is the layering of passing and how timing matters a lot to whether you're going to actually catch somebody in stride versus throw it at their shoelaces or throw it somewhere else. Like that adds a level of realism, and it makes actually hitting a deep post feel very satisfying. So when I use a guy like Will Howard, who is not a great passer, I'm going to miss guys. Like, that last throw should have been a touchdown, and it wasn't. That one should have been more of a 7-yard gain, but
He was very good at Kansas State.
yeah, and he was very good at Kansas State, and then was going to lose his job because of Avery. They have a real spectacular athlete there. Oh boy.
What are you going to do from 4th and 4?
Come on. Like, I'm going to kick a 45-yard field goal.
What are your thoughts on the new kicking meter and everything?
I mean, I understand why video game fans hate it, but in real life, college kickers suck. And a kick, that's barbecue chicken.
What? No! Barbecue chicken?
Barbecue chicken.
Oh, man, that was awful DB play. Looking like Florida in real life.
I mean, and I did throw that into double coverage, but because I was excited, I yelled barbecue chicken because I thought I had 2 steps on the trailing DB. I didn't even see the second guy in the end zone. So I don't know. Maybe this is karmic justice for all the terrible things that happened to me in 2007. Not just with the stupid Gators and the football, but that was also the year they had Joakim Noah and Corey Brewer, and they beat Ohio State in the basketball championship game.
Mm-hmm.
So I remember being on campus back then. Some dudes went to the Ohio State University signs at the front of campus and put property of Florida underneath all of them, and
that's amazing.
And it was very funny, but also hurtful. But yeah, see,
the fake spike.
No lead is safe
unless you're me.
Listen, I'm not going to sit here and have this negging. You're about to score another touchdown. Okay, maybe not. All right, this. You might want to reconsider.
I'm gonna cry.
Strategy here. If it makes you feel any better, the first time I played this game in a stream with somebody else, the week after it came out, I was playing Ohio State at Marshall.
I know exactly who it is. Shout out the Herd Bros.
The Herd Bros. I lost by 45, right? Because I was the one that threw that many interceptions. And sometimes it do be like that though.
It really does. And I know I'm better at this. Not saying I'm better than you, but I know I'm better than my performance today.
Listen, this is a safe space. There's no judgment here whatsoever. We're having a conversation. We're doing other things at the moment. This stuff happens.
But what are your expectations for Ohio State this season?
It's such a crazy thing with Ohio State.
Oh!
No!
Come on! Scoop and score!
No!
Yes!
See?
There you go.
I hate everything. My expectation is that they should make the playoff. They should get a playoff bye, and they should be right up there with Georgia, Texas, and Oregon in competing for national championship. But the funny thing about Ohio State, because on one hand, I think a rational person from outside of the 614 area code would look at this team and think, you have a higher winning percentage over the last 4 years than nearly anybody in college football. You have won every single game that you were heavily expected to win, and you've been in the playoff conversation every single time. To think about firing your coach would be insane, especially given how you're recruiting. And then I think an Ohio State fan would say, if you're at this program, which has more built-in advantages, I would say, than anybody else in the country, the most recession-proof team in college football, you have 3 goals for an Ohio State team every year. Your goal is to beat Michigan, your goal is to win the Big Ten, and your goal is to be in contention for a national championship. And in the last 3 years under Ryan Day, Ohio State has failed all of those goals. So this year, if they lose to Michigan, especially because I think this should not be this is a Michigan team that should be taking a step back, regardless of anything the NCAA may or may not be doing. But if they don't beat Michigan, and if they lose to Oregon in the regular season and they don't win a playoff game this year, I don't think it's hyperbolic to suggest Ryan Day is coaching like the Indianapolis Colts.
Ooh.
And they're just going to run him out of town, even though he's going to have like an 8-8-0 winning percentage or something. Oh,
I don't know what I was doing right there.
You were throwing a arm punt, which, look, it was 3rd and 19. Like, that's fine.
I almost went with the screen, but I'm going to have to change the quarterback situation right here.
Sure. No, go right ahead.
Sorry, Graham Mertz. You are not him. It's time to put in the true freshman, baby. DJ Lagway. I don't know if you know much about good old DJ, but he is fantastic.
He is highly recruited.
Top quarterback in the nation from this last recruiting class.
Yeah. Is the expectation that he's going to play a lot of snaps this year, or?
The way that I see it is this is just going to be like 2006 when Chris Leak was the senior and Tebow was the freshman, and Chris Leak would drive down the field, they'd hit the red zone, and pop, put in Tebow.
Sure. There's going to be a lot of pressure on Florida's coaching staff this year. Not totally sure if they're going to end up making the best long-term decisions, but we shall find out.
I do not see Napier lasting the season.
No. That lawsuit is a big deal.
Care to touch up on it?
Well, yeah, I mean, I assume you're familiar with the broad strokes of the thing, right?
Yeah.
So, essentially here, what was alleged is not terribly uncommon in recruiting, where a player is verbally or in some level of contract offered one thing in an NIL package, and then reality hits and it ends up being something different. What is unique in this particular case here for Florida was the timing and the amount of money. And given how public everything was, given the low caliber of representation that all sides here got and how sloppy it was, I believe that this has a chance to really negatively impact the university and football program. My expectation is that Florida and all sides here will settle before discovery ends up happening, because listen, if any coach in the SEC has all of their text messages and phone records completely public during the recruiting process, like, everybody's going to jail. Nobody wants that. And if the word gets out there that you're poor or that your money can't be trusted, you can't come back from that, especially if you're going 6-6.
Yeah, that whole Jaden Rashada situation is absolutely crazy. And I remember when Florida first had him committed, I thought he was the next coming to Jesus. I really did. And then the whole situation of where he signed the letter of intent and then just was like, you know what? Never mind. Well, oh, look at those legs.
That was impressive. One of the kind of alarming things about the whole thing is, like, it was difficult to find a dispassionate recruiting analyst who was as high on Rashada as I think that kind of money was. Like, the kind of book on him, as I understood it, was this is somebody who has a great natural arm and could be a plus starter, but he needs to gain like 40 pounds. He's not somebody who's ready to really carry the load immediately. And you don't overpay for those kind of people, because there's 4 or 5 of those quarterbacks in every class, and half of them are going to bust. And you don't pay, was it $14 million for somebody that has a 50-50 chance of being first team all SEC or a backup at Nevada. You go back and look at the last 3, 247 recruiting classes here at the top 10 quarterbacks, and you're going to find a couple people who get picked in the NFL and who have great college careers, and guys that have recruiting ratings just as high as Rashada, who get transferred 3 times and end up in the FCS. Your physical measurables are a big part of that. It felt like a desperation reach.
Yeah,
like I could see someone doing that for Quinn Ewers or Justin Fields, were not quite generational, but like elite prospects, guys that you would expect to be able to start and contribute immediately. And that's not what Rashada was. I hope for his sake he ends up having a productive career, but now I don't really know what's going to happen to him, because he's probably not going to play at Georgia this year, and he's going to have a very competitive quarterback room the next, and he's coming off of an injury.
Oh, that should have been a
That
pick.
that should have been a pick. So then Cody Simon dropped it.
I do not have hope for the next couple of years for Florida. It really hurts. I remember when Dan Mullen came in from Mississippi State. I
Sure,
was so excited. And then he had
sure.
three very successful seasons. I think he went 9-3, then like 11-2, and then 8-4 in the COVID year.
He is a very, very good chalkboard guy, but to win in the SEC, you have to be more than a chalkboard guy, unfortunately.
Ever
Um,
since the cleat yeet against LSU in 2020, Florida has
it
been hurting. I still hate you, Marco Wilson, for that.
that was a Florida has been one. Oh, there you go. Florida is one of those teams. I think I would put Louisville in this category and Auburn in this category. And I don't mean this positively. It is a kind of place where everything is constantly happening all the time, where they're incapable of being normal. LSU might be one of those kind of places here too. So as a reporter, it's great, right? Like you can always write about the Florida man shit that happens in Florida, but the places that are perennially very successful are not the kind of places where that are just constant content factories, you know?
All right, as we enter the last, I guess, minute and a half, any strong predictions for this upcoming college football season?
Any strong predictions? Trying to think of stuff that would be interesting and not the same old kind of thing here, right? I'm really excited about what the Big 12 is going to look like next year. I like Kansas State a lot. I like Utah a lot. I think that's a league that should be competing to get two teams in the college football playoff. And there's not really a major difference between the number one team and the number 5 team. I think there's probably 3 pretty bad teams in that league, but just a lot of parity, and it should be a lot of fun. Yeah, I guess I'll go out and I'll take Oregon to win it, but it should be a fun year. I am legitimately excited for the 12-team playoff because the dirty little secret about this sport is that every game doesn't matter. Most games don't, especially in November in a 4-team world. Especially what we saw in Florida State last year. This year, there's going to be over dozens of impactful games late in the season, including many involving teams that normally are not could never hope to be involved in playoff consideration, like Kansas. And I think that that's going to be really positive for the sport as a whole.
What do you think is going to happen with the last 2 teams in the Pac-12?
You know, I have been trying to report this out for months, and what I can tell you is that the West Coast Conference does not expect those 2 teams to stick around past, I think, 2026. I think is the end of their current agreement. And there's some talk in Mountain West circles about being more excited about a merger last year and now thinking, I don't really know. Those 2 schools have a decent amount of money, and whenever they decide to make whatever kind of finale or move they end up making is going to have enormous realignment impacts on the rest of the West, from FCS and 1 AAA. But whether they end up creating an entirely new league, whether they merge with the Mountain West, whether they find a way to get into the Big 12 or a major league, I really don't know. And part of that is because I think legitimately in 2.5 years, we might not have conferences anymore. So then it doesn't really matter. Then it's just like an upper level invitational for everybody that's willing to opt into, this amount of revenue sharing, this amount of payments. Maybe they get in, maybe they don't. There's the enormous amount of uncertainty.
Yeah, for those who do not know, the Pac-12 is now basically the Pac-2, and the last 2 teams have a scheduling agreement with the Mountain West Conference. It's a little interesting. That means one of 2 teams is going to be the Pac-12 champions. Are they even going to get a trophy?
Oh yeah, there's a trophy. There's still a conference office. They still have staffers. Like, all of that is still very real. Well, I take that back. I think the office is remote.
Okay.
But they're still trying to operate as a league. They have a commissioner. They're trying to add new members, and rebuild this thing.
Well, I mean, as soon as I put in DJ Lagway, the offense starts clicking. I don't know why I didn't do it earlier, though.
I don't know either.
Graham Mertz, it's your fault for hitting hurdle.
What's the rating difference between the 2 in the game? Is Mertz like a 3 better?
Yeah, it's like a 3 or 4 overall. I think Mertz is an 84, and I think Lagway's an 80. I will say that in my private Florida dynasty, DJ Lagway did win the Heisman Trophy. Graham Mertz did not.
I'm shocked.
So shocked.
I'm shocked to hear that. I'm gonna be honest, and this makes me like a pariah, I think, on the internet. I have not played very much Dynasty since this came out. I'm waiting for a patch, before I invest too much time into it to see what happens with the sim logic and maybe some of the visit bugs and everything. I have been playing mostly head-to-head, Road to Glory. I mean, the online college football playoff, Road to Glory, and Ultimate Team. I have not spent any money on Ultimate Team. I know you say Ultimate Team, everyone accuses you of being some EA shill, but like, if I'm in between calls and I've only got 15 minutes, yeah, I'll do a challenge. Like that's just kind of how my life is at this point.
I will say, I have also been enjoying Ultimate Team. As somebody who never enjoyed the Madden Ultimate Team, I'm really enjoying this. It doesn't seem like it's their main focus, and it's clearly not.
I mean, it's clearly not. There's some pretty significant bugs. You'll notice everybody's from Alabama right now.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, right. I imagine some of those things will get fixed. My understanding is EA is making a very comfortable amount of money from that service right now. I think the pack drops and how content's released will look a little bit better once the season actually starts. It won't be quite as alumni heavy, but I'm very much enjoying it.
All right. Well, is there any last things that you want to say before we get done with this video after I got completely embarrassed by you?
Listen, you did a great job making things respectable in the second half. Give yourself some credit. Got a little bit lucky with 4 interceptions or something. I would just say, like, I've really appreciated everyone's readership and support of Extra Points. I'm not done writing about the game. I'm working on a couple of stories, both with EA and outside of EA. I hope to be able to share later this month. We're kind of making calls and getting some data solidified, but we're working on some pretty exciting things beyond the bowl game on there too. So if you're interested in how the sausage gets made in college sports, I think you'll enjoy Extra Points, which you can also engage with for free at extrapointsmb.com.
All right, that link will be in the description down below. Thank you, Matt, for doing this video today to start out a wonderful series on this channel. Hope you guys, both you and the viewers, all have a wonderful day, and I'll see you guys later.
Sounds good.